expired. At this time, I recognize the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Griffith, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I'm somewhat curious if the oil is going to be, oil sands going to be used anyway, even if we don't build the pipeline, then I guess I'm kind of curious as to why all the opposition to the pipeline. And I'm wondering if any of you all can start with Dr. Isaacs. Can you give me some explanation as to why, if the oil sands are still going to be used, why someone would oppose this pipeline coming into the United States? From a U.S. perspective, I know you all are mostly Canadians, but can you all understand that?
No, I can't understand that.
Can you understand that, Mr. Dammer?
No, I don't understand that at all.
Dr. Niniger?
I'm sensitive to some of the issues, but I'm not sure that's the right way. If you know, you're concerned about carbon emissions, that really is effective.
All right. Mr. McCaffrey?
No, I don't understand it.
Mr. Smith?
We're already shipping 1.7 million barrels south, and also if I were receiving oil in the safe, I'd want it in the safest way possible, in the newest infrastructure possible.
Let me touch on that a minute, Mr. Smith. I've heard previous testimony that by shipping it the way that we're shipping it now into the United States, we actually have a bigger carbon footprint than if we build the pipeline. Is that accurate?
Well, if you bring it in by tanker load, you'll actually, when you go quantity to quantity, it will be increased amount of emissions from tanker traffic than by pipeline.
All right, and you talked about safety as well. Is there more likelihood of accidents if you're doing the tankers?
Well, it's your safety program, honorable member, and it'll be a program, be a pipeline built by Americans, supervised by Americans, and made safe by Americans. That includes union and non-union labor.
All right, I appreciate that. Let me ask you as well, Mr. Smith. You know, we always hear that the U.S. possesses only 2% of the world's proven oil reserves. Now, we know that that's because proven reserve estimates only account for oil fields that are currently being produced. However, not long ago, Canada had a similar proven reserve figure to ours. Did your government accept that Canada's proven reserves in 1994 should mean that there should be no new oil exploration?
No, it did not. What it meant was that we had to find a way to publicly quantify and qualify these reserves. The oil sands reserves are based on public record of 56,000 wells and 6,000 cores. Drilling records and core samples remain intact today, and it can be viewed by anybody from this community. And I believe that much of the criticism that we get from the oil sands is our own fault, because we're too transparent, we might be too apologetic, we might be too Canadian.
Well, I'm not sure I'd go there, especially as an American. I don't want to accuse you of being too Canadian. Yeah. But what, you know, does this not say to us that the United States can learn that if we go out there and we look for new ways to discover, new ways to use what we have in our country, that we can in fact discover new ways to use what we have and come up with a greater percent than the 2% that we always hear about, bandied about in the press when the president tries to give us math lessons?
One of the great things that Canada and the U.S. share is technology development, innovation, and germination between and pollination between companies. And whether it's horizontal drilling, measurement while drilling, hydraulic fracking, production of gas from shales, production of liquids from shales, production of oil from shales, these technologies are shared across the border. The 49th parallel doesn't mean much when you're moving technology throughout. And I think that the Bakken field in North Dakota is a very good example of that.
So you would generally agree with me that we probably have greater than 2% if only we'd use our resources?
Yes,
Is that
sir.
correct? Yes. Dr. Isaacs, your testimony states that only in Canada are the only developed countries that can dramatically increase oil production. There are other parts of the world that are producing large amounts of oil and will experience some growth. But are any of the other countries in the world that are expanding their growth, are they committed to producing oil with comparable environmental sensitivities to that of the United States and Canada?
I don't believe they are.
And so would I be correct in believing that by not allowing the United States and Canada to expand our use of our natural resources, we may in fact be creating a greater problem worldwide with pollution than if we are allowed to use, with our sensitivities to the environment, are allowed to use our natural resources. Is that true?
I think it's very possible, yes.
I appreciate it, and I yield back my time, Mr. Chairman.